Hi everyone, hello to all of you, and a very good evening. Welcome to the session. I was wondering, I'm not able to see my class, but then I got to see it a bit late. Okay, kindly let me know if I'm audible and visible. So, those watching me for the first time, I am your Faculty of English on CGB Mentors, and I have been teaching English for more than 10 years. My name is Niharika John Mehra. This is a session that we are having daily over here. So, Monday to Saturday, daily 8 p.m., especially helpful for those who are working and also preparing for some exams. This is the session at 8 p.m., which is a dynamic session. You get skimming, you get to practice it, you get vocabulary, summary, grammar, questions which are from the passage to help you keep the main content or some of the fact information from the passage in your brain. So a lot of you who are who are going through some time crunch and you want to cover a lot, this is the class, this is the series for you all. Okay, तो जल्दी से like और share कर दो. Please make sure to like and share if you are new here. Then subscribe our channel. Apart from this, I have daily sessions 1:30 p.m. and on this channel they are on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Okay, MWF classes, and we have these classes as of now. The going on topic is of CSAT. Okay, RCs. So I want you to start now. Okay, let's begin. As I told you, हम start कर रहे हैं skimming से. That is foremost part of a session because when in exam a passage comes in front of you, you have to deal with it. You cannot go into in-depth reading and getting to the main root and all. You have to save a lot of time in reading. Skimming is the way you can do it. It's speedily reading a piece of content. You focus on the main words, at least on every subject and verb of a sentence. अब subject को expand करा है. Let's say it's a name of a person. The person कहीं से था, कहीं को गया, उसके पेरेंट्स क्या है, वो सब सब्जेक्ट की एक्स्ट्रा बातें सेकेंडरी है. मेन सब्जेक्ट, मेन वर्ड हो क्या रहा है, दैट इज व्हाट वी गेट टू नो. So just for example, you focus on the main subject and verb. Don't focus a lot on every single number, every single full name of someone or something. Save time there, okay? And this article today is taken from the Hindu. I think some of you might have even read it in the morning. But ठीक है, हम यहाँ पे अभी करते हैं. So I am going to put a timer in front of you and you need to start reading. I will give you 2.5 minutes to go through the complete article and come up with the main message you get out of this article. Please start reading. Okay. So I hope आपने read कर लिया होगा. I'll explain you. Please let me know in the comment section if you have a thought over this. You have to, if you are asked to talk about the summary in 1 or 2 lines, what would be that? So unnecessary amendment on the RTI Act. Author is saying something happened, some changes happened in this act, and this was totally unnecessary. Amending the RTI Act through DPB, Data Protection Bill, is unwarranted. Unwarranted is also something which is unnecessary, जो भी unjustified होता है. So amending the act using this bill is not something that is justified. Maybe there was no need to do so, or maybe that wasn't the right way to do so. Now, interestingly, we have a sentence that starts with that. This happens very less. I'll get back to this format when I will take grammar section, when I'll ask some grammar things. So that the RTI and the use of RTIs have enhanced the accountability of those in governance in India goes without saying. This thing that RTI and the use of it, these things have enhanced accountability, transparency of those people who are at some posts, some positions in the government. This is something we can clearly see. This goes without saying, मतलब वो काफी apparent है. In the last few years, there have been attempts to dilute the provisions of the Act. So, in the last few years, we see there were attempts where the Act and the things it is providing, facilitating, all those things were not put across strongly. They were diluted. उनका महत्व कम कर दिया गया था. A landmark one was passed 20 years ago. Now the act was a landmark act, and that was passed 20 years ago. This piece of information helps us know more about the act. Clearly, some in governance and administration, some have targeted the act and its provision on transparency and disclosure to the encumbrances. Now, author is for sure, so he's saying clearly, यहाँ पे कुछ हुआ है. Clearly, some people have treated the act, और जो भी act के अंदर है, on transparency and disclosure to be encumbrance means like a burden, okay? Like a burden जैसे treat करा है. A significant threat has now emerged in the amendment to section 8(1)J of the act. तो अभी recent वाली चीज क्या है? ये तो पिछली बात हो गई, history की बात हो गई. But a significant threat now is the amendment which has been introduced in section 44, 3 subsection of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. The act itself is an outcome of a judgment that upheld the right of privacy as a fundamental right. So there were some changes. किसके through changes हुआ? Now the act itself जो था, it was a result, it was like a judgment जो कि करा गया था that upheld the right of privacy as a fundamental right under the Article 21 of the Constitution. So this was something that was done under the act. Section 8 of the RTI Act allows government bodies to withhold information. Now see here, RTI, which means you can get whatever information you want. Of course, there will be some discretion, but yeah, there will be a provision where government bodies can withhold information which relates to public information, provided, एक शर्त है, provided here talks about there is a condition, its disclosure is not related to public interest or results in an unnecessary invasion of privacy. So if the court finds out, or if the body finds out that it is unnecessary invasion of privacy, it has nothing to do with public interest, then they can withhold information. While doing so, it provides safeguard. ऐसा करने से क्या कर रहा है? Safeguard दे रहा है that if the public information officer or an appellate authority finds public interest, now here there is something different we get to see. There is a safeguard that if the officer or authority finds public interest in disclosing such information, it could still be available. So here is something where if the authority finds out that okay, this piece of information is actually gonna help, it is in the public interest, then the information will be made available. This safeguard is important. So author of course is supporting this. Some information related to public servants such as college degrees or caste certificates might be private. But as a recent controversial case, now author is saying that some part of information which people would want is not something which is something they should ask for. But as a recent, now something happened, a recent controversial case of a bureaucrat using a fake caste certificate showed such information could be released in public interest. So if we see asking for some college degrees or wanting to see the certificates and all, this information might be private. It should not be something under the public information. But we got to see, because there was such a case that there was a bureaucrat, he was using fake caste certificate. Because of such cases, we see these information, this kind of information should be actually a part of public interest. Section 44 of the Act amends Section 8. So there is this 44.3 of the Act. It amends Section 8 by allowing government bodies to simply withhold personal information. Now there is now a chance you won't be getting all the information that you want without the safeguard provisions on public interest or other such exceptions. So there are chances that it's not gonna be 100% transparent as of now. Now, what happened in a letter to Congress leader Jairam Ramesh, Union Minister Ashwini defended the amendment. So he defended this kind of change which was brought, saying Section 44 was aimed at preventing the RTI Act's misuse and was to harmonize the requirement of right to privacy and right to information. So here जो इसके defenders हैं उनका कहना है कि this amendment, this change is actually helping us to safeguard from the misuse of Right to Information Act. He also said that information such as salaries of public officials would still remain accessible. कुछ information रहेगी accessible, ऐसा नहीं सब कुछ नहीं देंगे through Section 3, but by amending the Act itself, an outcome that was never the intention of K.S. Puttaswamy, and by defining personal information vaguely, कुछ हो रहा है यहाँ पे, है ना, बाय से कॉफी का कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंस आपको मिल रहा है. But contrast, by amending the act itself, what was happening here in the act? That was an outcome. Never it was intended that, and the definition of personal information was not clear cut. It was vague. Authorities could deny RTI requests of previously public data by classifying them as personal and lessen public scrutiny. So public scrutiny examination जो है या लोगों का जज करना कम हो जाएगा under this, क्योंकि यहाँ पे vaguely चीजें describe थी, and now we can get to see that ये amendment हो चुका है. The RTI Act already harmonizes concerns related to right to information and privacy by subjecting them to the question of public interest. Already in this act, we get to see if the information is asked. It is related to right to information and privacy, but it is subjected them to the question of public interest, whether they are of public interest or not. Therefore, the amendment using the act is unnecessary and unwarranted. Already जो exist कर रहा था structure, it was not like you ask the question, you got the answer, anything personal will be given to you. No. Already they were the things that were asked under the act were subjected to the question of public interest, whether the things fall under the ambit of public interest or not. Therefore, this amendment is useless. Why is it even existing? The government must take the concerns of civil society and transparency activists and remove the provision amending the RTI Act in the DPP Act. Now here he is saying that this is unnecessary, don't do it, we should not follow it. This kind of amendment should be undone. So this is how it is. Sure. Let's go through some vocabulary. So let's start with the first word, accountability, answerability. Accountability is a noun. It's a responsibility to be true to someone or something. हाँ, हम उनसे कुछ छुपाएंगे नहीं. Maintaining transparency. There is an obligation to explain and take responsibility. So if you keep accountability with your teacher, for example, okay? So you do mention where you are struggling. If you have done some mistake, you do, and you are obligated to talk about it to your teacher. This is the relationship or the concept of accountability. Jawabdehi. Invasion of privacy. Invasion means intrusion and privacy means किसी के personal affair में intrusion, encroachment, दखल देना और निजी जीवन में या निजता में उल्लंघन करना. Appellate authority, आपने appellate court पढ़ा होगा है ना civics में. So a higher official body that hears appeals, that kind of reviewing body where appeals could be made to authority, उसे appellate authority बोलते हैं. Encumbrance, ends words are always a noun. It is a burden, a hindrance, some kind of obstruction, बोझा किसी तरीके का, or some kind of things that are limiting you. To dilute something is to weaken or reduce the effectiveness. Strong कोई चीज है अगर तो उसकी strength को lower down करना, undermine, weak करना is to dilute. Safeguard is a protective measure like a shield, steps taken for the sake of protection. To withhold is to refuse, not to give or disclose something. Unwarranted is something which is not at all justified, unnecessary. Harmonize is to make consistent something which is going in hand with another thing. अच्छे से gel हो रही है, align हो रही है, मिलकर काम हो रहा है, मेल बिठाना. Public scrutiny is critical examination by the public. This is actually a jargon which you often get to see in articles. So public scrutiny is people are judging critically to someone or something. Okay, so that kind of thing. And oversight or transparency इसके synonyms हो सकते हैं. Not always, but yeah. Vaguely defined, things which are not clear. Vague, being vague is you have multiple meanings to be interpreted. Whatever you are saying, whatever you're doing, a statement you are making. So there are multiple interpretations, possible outcomes, and that's why clarity is lacking and hence it is vague, ambiguous. So वो यहाँ पे vaguely defined था. Okay? चलो. We'll start with some grammar questions. Okay, my first question to you is, in this sentence, the very first sentence, you need to give me subject and verb. मुझे इसका subject और verb बताएं. Be great if you guys can answer. Okay, I'll tell you. Here the subject is the word that. And if this is a subject, this is how your sentence starts. It always takes a verb in singular, which is in agreement. So goes is your main verb here. Okay. So there are times when a sentence can start with that, sometimes even with what, and it is not a question. That, the act and the use of it, these things have enhanced the accountability of those in governance in India. ये बात की ऐसा ऐसा हुआ है, goes without saying. So the main subject here is not RTI, it is not the use of RTI. Yes, in दोनों के लिए you have the verb have here, okay, but that is not the main verb of the sentence. The word that जो कि आगे के sentence को relate कर रहा है, this is always singular. It helps expand on the subject, and that's how goes उसके accordance में लगा है. Okay, चलो. Part of speech of this word, part of speech of this encircled word. Soon we will be doing some MCQs, so I hope you remember the content we have read here. It is a noun. Okay. Next one, part of speech. Part of speech of this one. This is such a simple word. Okay. So some is from the family of adjective and pronoun group. If this word is used as an adjective, it will have a noun immediately after it. That's how you know in this case it is a pronoun. Okay, because there is no noun after it. Some can act as singular or plural. Point number one. Even as if you are using it as an adjective, after some you can use if you are using a countable noun, it is going to be plural. Some students, some teachers, and if you are using uncountable, then also it's okay, it's acceptable, it's absolutely correct. Some time, some clearance, some protection, um, some education. So you can use some with a countable noun in plural form or uncountable just like that. Okay, so here some in governance and administration, some is used as a pronoun, and as a pronoun it is understood we are talking about people in governance and administration. So that's why have is the verb here. Okay, that's used for plurals. um Part of speech of this word. It is a gerund. Okay, so disclosing in what का आंसर हमेशा noun होता है, and in case you don't get a noun, then of course it is a gerund. So this is a gerund. Okay, next question. Part of speech. Part of speech of this word. Okay, so the right answer to this one is that along with the noun provisions, it is making a compound noun. Safeguard अपने आप में noun है. It can also be used as a verb. Verb and noun, there are two parts of speech इसमें पाया जाता है. In this case, it is part of compound noun, hence noun. One last question related to grammar, and then we move on to summary and other questions. Okay. Just want to talk about a fact. The word salary comes under countable and uncountable noun both. So if in general you are talking about the concept of wage, payment given to someone for some work, so you say salary. But if you want to talk about the individual salaries of people, then the plural form is used and we consider the word salary plural, countable likewise. Okay. Okay, so I was asking one last question. Hmm. Part of speech of the word remain. It is a verb. Okay. So what did we get to see? The summary here is like so. The DPDP, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 has amended Section 8 of the RTI Act via Section 44. What changed? What kind of amendment? It removed safeguards that allowed public interest to override privacy. Previously, क्या होता था? A personal information like caste certificates could be disclosed if it was considered relevant to public interest, and that was a crucial check against corruption. If the authority or the appellate authority it finds that something is relevant related to public interest, they would disclose anything which is private or personal information. Now, the vaguely defined personal information can be withheld because there is no proper definition, but clear definition is mentioned. So, because of the vagueness of it, now the information can be withheld without giving any justification. Nahi dena, nahi batana. And that's how the transparency is weakened. The government claims that it is to prevent the misuse of RTI. That is what government is saying because उन्होंने ही amend करा है. But critics says it undermines the spirit of RTI Act. Because RTI Act, the name itself, we know through that it means you have the right to information, which already balance privacy with public interest. That already, even before the amendment, has been doing this. It is not just like you go and randomly ask anything and it will answer you. It is balancing privacy with public interest. Activists urge that this should be undone. Government must roll back this change, this amendment. Okay. Let's do some questions. Before that, some of the essays that relate to the article. Right to privacy, RTI versus right to privacy. Is it a conflict or a complement? They go against each other or they can go hand in hand. The future of transparency in the age of data protection. So data protection, data security, data breach, इन सब में आप कहीं ना कहीं ये piece of information का use कर सकते हो. Balancing civil liberties with governance reforms. A little offbeat kind of a topic, but could be asked. Transparency and accountability in digital age. How secure we are, even anything that relates to cyber security and data security and all, you can use this material in some of the examples or describing, explaining something. We'll start with some objective questions now. Let's see if you remember the details or not. Get your brain working. It is section 44.3. No need of explanation. Next one. The right answer to this one is C. What key safeguard does section 8(1)(j) of the RTI Act offer? It offers that public interest may justify disclosure of private info. You need to justify why this kind of private information is given. This is the key safeguard in the place. इनका भी नाम मैंने लिया था. If you remember while I was explaining, or if you remember what you read. The answer is C. K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India. What was the constitutional case that led to recognition of privacy as a fundamental right? Privacy भी हमारा fundamental right है, हमको नहीं disclose करना, हम नहीं करेंगे. That was even if you remember just the name K.S. Puttaswamy, that was enough for you to answer. Why is the definition of personal information in section 44 considered problematic? Because it is vague. Okay, so author is saying that what people are saying, or why the amendment is made, saying that the definition of personal information is vague and there are chances it may be misused to deny RTI. That's why we are doing this kind of amendment. There you go. Next one. The answer is D. Which of the following is incorrect regarding DPDP and the amendment? The amendment weakens RTI's public interest safeguard. That is true. तो ये आंसर नहीं है. RTI already had a privacy versus public interest balancing mechanism. We got to read this. तो ये भी present है, not our answer. Civil society has supported RTI amendment. No, they are criticizing. तो ये गलत है, इनकरेक्ट है. सैलरीज ऑफ ऑफिशियल्स आर एग्जाम्प्टेड. नो, यू कैन गेट टू नो द सैलरीज ऑफ ऑफिशियल्स अंडर द एक्ट. So there you go, ये भी included था. Your answer should be something that is incorrect. Okay. Now I'll do some error detection questions. So that's the first question. The answer is definitely C. The act includes a clause that dilutes key transparency protections where in the original act. So that is a relative pronoun. Relative pronoun के पहले वाला noun is called antecedent, which is singular clause, and that's why dilutes. Okay, so even when we use a relative pronoun, subject verb agreement is to be checked. Next question. Answer here is E. There is no error. No, not this one. Sorry. For this one, the error is argue. Critics argue. Critics argue होगा, argues नहीं होगा. Singular होता, यहाँ critic होता, a critic, the critic we could have used. So definitely subject verb agreement issue that the new amendment could be used to do what? Deny what? Access. Access किसी चीज को दिया जाता, so access to what? This data. Next one. This one is no error, I think. Okay. Uh, Deba Blessy Salome, can you please help me understand? No, ma'am, is for what? Is there something you want me to explain again? The intention behind the KS Puttaswamy judgment. The intention was not to override transparency. In what? Transparency in governance. What kind of governance? Public governance. Error-free sentence. Fourth question. There you go. The answer is again simple, subject verb agreement. A recent case involving a fake caste certificate, a case illustrates verb will go in agreement with singular. Why some data must remain open to scrutiny. This one should be interesting.